Time being 6:30, I'll call to order the Tilton Planning Board Tuesday, September 25th, 2018 meeting. First would be the review of the September 11 minutes. They are not complete yet, so we will move on and do those at our next meeting. So Planning Board Case 18-11, Conditional Use Permit, Wetlands and Subdivision. Proposal from Milford Trust to subdivide one lot into 3 at Sanborn Road between the Eversource Power Line easement and 152 Sanborn Road in the Industrial District R19 15-2. Has everyone been able to get all their paperwork back for this? Gary, did we approve the application previous?
Accept the application. I was just thinking the same thing. I think we did. We must have.
I thought we did too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why is there a new one with a different date? Is it changed?
Well, we do have a site plan and a subdivision application before us, so that may be what.
So one's subdivision and one's...
Yeah. Right now, we're looking at the subdivision. I'll just throw out a few quick points. One is that there's a conditional use permit associated with this. That's been submitted now. That conditional use permit, let's see here. When Ms. McCourt went before the Conservation Commission, all of the elements that are presented in the conditional use permit were discussed before the Conservation Commission. And to make certain that that was the case and to sort of provide documentation that that was the case, Ms. McCourt reached out to the Conservation Commission. You have an email in your materials confirming the Conservation Commission's satisfaction, feeling that their comments at that meeting satisfy the comment requirement for the conditional use permit.
Yeah, we got that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we will start with just the subdivision. That would be wonderful.
Okay. Since I was last before you on this project, the plan did show 2 driveways. And we went to DOT. There should be a DOT permit in your package. They only permitted the 1 driveway. So we have the 1 driveway with, well, it's not a driveway, it's going to be a private road. And it'll be built to town standards. We'd want to anyways because of when we get to the site plan, the use that we're going to be using it for. So it'll be a private road that will access all 3 lots. Right now we're not proposing any easements because all 3 lots are going to stay in Milford's trust name and we can't grant easements to ourselves. I have applied for the wetlands permit. I did get comments back, and I have resubmitted that back into the Wetlands Bureau, so hopefully, and they weren't that, the comments were pretty minimal. They wanted a better legend on the plan, and most of the comments that we have for both the Conservation Commission and the Wetlands Bureau have to do with the site plan more than the subdivision plan, because that's what I submitted into them was the site plan. So they wanted included. They were concerned because we're at for the site plan. Well, this is an issue. We'll get into that later. But so basically, for the subdivision, they didn't really have any comments on that. And the Conservation Commission, I think the big thing was with them is that when I submitted into them, I submitted their form too, and I filled out all their form and complied with that. And I saw that's at the end of the conditional use permit. So that's why I think it made it easy for them to say, yeah, we have all your comments, all our comments for that. So other than that, I mean, we're down to only 540 square feet of wetland impact. It's just for basically there's a ditch that, believe it or not, is a tier 1 stream because it's so big, on the side of the road, that we're culverting. There's actually going to be 2 culverts that are shown on the site plan. That's about it. That's all. Pretty simple.
Thank you. Anybody on the board have questions or comments? We're starting with just the subdivision. No concerns? Questions? Nothing?
I'm more curiosity than anything, but like, why subdivide it if it's gonna be all the same use?
Basically because it was 5 lots, and because the road was never built.
Oh, that's right,
They
yeah.
lost that, so we want to subdivide it to 3 lots and grandfather them so that we have 3 lots.
I forgot about the previous.
When it's industrial, they're gonna have 2 acres, which they do have, so it's very.
Yeah, no, I forgot about the previous subdivision that never was, so.
I was surprised that it was in the industrial.
Yes.
This isn't exactly pertinent to tonight's case and tonight's approval, but I think it might be worth just mentioning that in my interpretation of this is that the select board would need to authorize the construction of, from a very technical standpoint, the select board would have to authorize the building of structures, or would have to allow the code enforcement officer to issue building permits because this is a private road. Now this really strains the intent of that, because that private road is so very short. In my mind, there would be absolutely no issue, I would expect, with the selectmen issuing such permissions. So it might be another minor step, but I just wouldn't see that as a barrier really to building. Just something to keep in mind. You know, unless I'm possibly wrong, the only way I could see that I would be wrong is if it was just so obvious that the intent of that regulation or that requirement, that statute, is to make sure that people aren't building out in the middle of nowhere, not this little tiny private road. So just wanted to throw that out there. It is something that we'll have to at least cross off the list at some point. Again, probably not relevant to the planning board tonight, but I thought in this public setting it might make sense to just at least mention it. But again, I don't see it as a major hurdle.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Now, would that be for a building? Because we're not planning on putting a building on it. Basically, we're doing a glorified parking lot.
Yeah, it would be for a building. So it may never be an issue.
Are you suggesting they get that now, though, just in case?
No,
Okay,
no, I just didn't want something to come as a surprise.
okay.
You seem like as good of a time as any to at least bring it up.
And no other concerns, I'll entertain a motion.
Sorry and don't forget, you've got the 2 pieces of this
Right.
one. Yeah, thank you.
We'll put the subdivision to sleep first.
Okay,
And we'll do the site plan.
all right. Well, no, the conditional use permit also, though, I'm saying, with the subdivision.
Isn't the conditional use permit all with the site plan?
I think not, because it covers
They can subdivide it.
I guess,
Until they get a conditional use permit, it just sits there as 3 lots.
We can't access it.
I think the access is, to me, I consider the access part and parcel, forgive the pun, of the subdivision.
It's implied in the subdivision?
I mean, I feel like you address access, typically access issues are addressed at the subdivision phase. Doesn't always have to happen that way. I mean, we could almost, you know, if the conditional use permit gets approved, it obviously applies to both cases.
Look at it an hour later.
Yeah.
As well do it, get it out of the way.
I'm looking at it now.
They would do it in the middle so that it's touching both cases.
The one thing, that unless you have, do you have one that's signed? Our copy is not signed.
I think we do in the case file, but maybe we should, just to make sure.
It was a hand-delivered one, it's just, I didn't have a copy of the signed one.
Yeah.
PDF to you.
So the hand-delivered one was signed.
Is it signed and dated? 2 pages? Both pages are signed?
I mean, I can check, or maybe even quicker would be to just get a signature right now, so that I don't, if we know, I don't bother. What's that? Okay, so let me just check real quick.
Sorry, not here.
Sharp practice one.
So on the conditional use permit, sewage disposal and water supply are both checked private. Is that, I assume, proposed because none exists on the property?
Correct, that would be, if it was ever developed,
So that's
it would be,
proposed.
it would be private.
Yeah, I have a signed version here.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Um,
Just as a formality, do we have to open this up to the public?
You can. Anyone from the public would like to speak?
Just to say someone said we didn't open to the public.
You can say, seeing no public.
That's right. Hearing nobody, we will close it to the public.
CYA.
Never a bad thing.
The system, the culvert and drainage system is gonna be in the site plan?
So right now, we're just looking for
The road,
subdivision.
the use is allowed in the wetland,
Special and accept.
building
Conditional
a
use.
driveway.
I think you need two motions. Conditional use in subway, subdivision,
Yes.
Building a subway now.
I guess so.
Permitted use.
We're going right to New York City in subway.
Streets are no access.
Do we have any conditions? I'll just throw it out there. Make a motion to approve planning board 18-11 conditional use permit and subdivision.
I'll second that.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Let us move on to the site plan.
So what we're proposing on the site plan is to use the private road to access lot 2 and 3, to be able to store manufactured houses temporarily on the site. I proposed.
I know,
It's
but
just
that one's
us, I
much
like
nicer.
working on.
I like that one.
Basically, what I've shown on the site in the greens, just to go over it, is the darker greens are the definite tree lines, where the kind of in medium green is kind of all of the invasive species and some trees, and it was just really too hard to get in there to figure out what was what, to be honest with you. And then the green will be the grass area when we're done. So the way I designed it was that basically the trucks can come in here and then back in to these areas to store the manufactured homes. According to the grading plan, it is graded that way because that's how the site is graded. I have the water going into this detention. It's also an infiltration pond that will outlet through a very simple culvert system. I do have erosion matting for the ditch lines. The culvert area down here that I talked about before, there's the main culvert for the main stream, and then there's a, right in here where the driveway's going, if you go out there, you can see where that main stream gets breached and overflows and goes out into this wetland that eventually goes this way. So there's a secondary culvert here to try to mimic that breach so that the wetlands get fed the way they're getting fed now, so they don't impact the wetlands downstream. So basically, I went at the narrowest spot. We're keeping all of this as a buffer for the neighbor, even though this corner of their lot is fairly well vegetated also. And for the Wetlands Bureau, what I ended up doing is during construction, there'll be orange construction fence that'll delineate the extent of the disturbed areas so that we don't go over 95,000 square feet of disturbed area. They're like, well, what if you want to develop, this lot in 3 years? Well, the thing is that if that lot's getting developed, there's something happening here too, because we're going to be doing easements and everything else. So then, if we have to go for AOT, a lot of other things are going to be changing anyways. So it really doesn't matter. But as some of you know from when we were here originally, this was originally subdivided in '84. So it could very well be over 10 years before we do anything more on this site. Hopefully the manufactured housing goes well and he keeps continuing to need this space. And also the Conservation Commission wanted me to somehow delineate the detention pond and the buffer so that snow wasn't placed there.
The boulders.
So that's why we put the boulders up. I put the boulders in here. To basically, we can put signs too, but the guy at 2 o'clock in the morning plowing isn't reading any signs.
Yeah, they asked for signs as well.
Yeah.
It could be retroreflective.
Having been in a plow truck. So the boulders are really the key, because they're going to stay away from those, because those are. So, from the beginning, this is just to temporarily store the manufactured homes. It's a very low use of the property. Traffic is going to be just about nothing. That's why DOT gave us a permit, not a problem.
I have a question.
Sure.
In the minutes of the Conservation Commission, it says that there was a question about the design of the entry road, and commission told the tractor trails will back into the driveway. But you just said that they'll be turning in, so I'm just
Yeah, I don't
looking
know
for
why it says
clarification.
that. Yeah, I would have never said that off of the highway,
Okay.
off of a state road.
Where is it?
On the, under the conservation minutes, there's a Milford Trust, it's
About the middle.
about the middle.
Okay.
It's, theirs on the left side.
Oh,
the
yeah,
first-
yeah.
Maybe they got confused when I said they were gonna come in and then back
And
the,
then back up, yeah.
then back the,
Oh.
maybe they got confused. whoever was
Well, I'm just going off the minutes, so.
Right, all I can tell you, and I have no review of the minutes, so, no, we're definitely not backing up off the highway. We don't want to do
Surprised.
that any more than you want us to do it.
Well, you'd be surprised what you see out there, so. I do,
Yeah.
I have another question.
Sure.
Can I ask another question? Good. Up here, this is on one lot, this pond?
That actually goes over onto this. part of
Right,
this
but
lot.
would there have to be something in the future if this lot was sold off where there's a deep outlay of that?
When it was sold, then there would have to be an easement granted. As I said before, right now, we can't.
Yeah, no, I didn't know if you had to have that easement now, or do you have to have that later?
It would have to be later.
Okay. That was my question.
If that even stays, it may.
No, I know, but if
completely-
someone says.
Something else happens.
Yeah. Just have to ask them.
I mean, I know we covered this before, and there was a butter, I think, who came and asked about what was gonna be visible. And I think that was resolved, right, because you said there was, just to go over it though again, it's,
Basically, we're
Make sure.
keeping most of the buffer in the setbacks, but, this whole area is vegetated. I mean, it's an industrial zone. They may see the backs of the houses that are, the manufactured homes that are sitting here, but it's not gonna be, like a Denny's or anything. I mean, it's gonna be.
Subway.
There's, besides the guys coming and picking up or dropping off,
yeah, there won't be any.
there's no people there or anything else.
Okay.
No lighting,
Lighting. Yeah.
nothing to light.
No lights.
Well, I mean, they'd be dropped off during the day.
Right.
So there would be.
And there will be a gate at the entrance to, there's a
Oh.
gate shown there
All
too.
right, great, that's a good point. Keep away people.
About the looky-loos.
Is there any signage?
No.
Yeah.
Thank you, Derek.
I was looking in the charter permitted uses that would allow this to take place on this property.
What's that?
I was looking in the charter permitted use to see if there was something in there that allowed the storage of mobile homes on this property.
Not mobile.
The manufacturer.
Manufactured
manufactured,
housing,
yeah.
yeah, same thing.
There's nothing that says they can't.
Yeah, I'm looking at, under industrial, it says manufacturing process requiring assembly of goods and merchandise. Well, that's not what they're doing. Warehousing and storage of non-flammable, non-explosive goods.
There you go.
Yeah.
You're not gonna blow them up, right?
No.
They're not fuel, they're just.
No, and there's an email from, Dari and I were discussing this matter. And there is an email with he talked with the code enforcement officer. Should have a copy of that email.
Yeah, I saw it earlier.
Number 7 says accessory sales room. Accessory sales room to me would indicate that you could have your goods in
So you're just reviewing the,
So I was just looking for something
Yeah, yeah.
specific, but there isn't. But I think there's enough that would allow it. That's just my opinion.
No, I
Just
concur.
invite Your opinions to it too. I
no,
don't
it's
see
good to
anything glaring that says it can.
Yeah, I concur with that. I don't see why they couldn't.
I think probably the best one is the warehousing and storage of non-flammable, non-explosive goods.
Correct.
I mean, just for the, yeah, that's what Al and I identified it as, so.
Yeah.
More importantly, Al. He's the
Anyone
guy.
else have
Here's the
any
letter.
additional questions?
No.
Eric, did you have anything else?
I'd like to read the, take a minute to look at the stormwater management report before we go.
Do you want a 5-minute recess to do that?
No, I'll just put questions as I go to hurry it along.
Thank you.
Sure, and that would answer.
Let's roll.
I'm just looking at your system. That's pretty basic. So you can put boulders all around the perimeter or just, this just indicates it just where the wetlands are. And then down here.
And that's it, because I want the water to get to this ditch, to get into here, and I want the water to get to that ditch to go down into here also.
Okay, but we don't want snow into these areas as well, right?
That's fine. Actually, that's not, because it has time for treatment before it gets into the detention pond. It's really the detention and infiltration pond where you don't want the sediment, especially the infiltration part, because it, tends to clog the worms.
Well, normally we like to have snow removal where, of course, this is where you're just having manufactured homes, you're not gonna have customers and litter.
Correct.
Cigarette, all the litter that comes with used parking lot. So normally we look for snow, storage in an area where that could be cleaned up. So, this one's kind of unique, I guess.
I don't know how many you're really gonna have there during the winter either.
Yeah, it's slow.
It's a slow time of year. This is the overflow pond. Because basically, if all things work well, we like to bring them in and put them where they're supposed to go, on their lot. We don't want to do this in between part, because that just costs money.
I was gonna say it'd have to be expensive. Did post storage, okay. You said in your cover letter that what's coming into the property is going in.
That would be,
So, good. I got that one. So thank you. That's gravel? That area is going to be all gravel?
correct. Well, actually, technically, according to New Hampshire DES, alteration of terrain is not. It's considered income. Yes, because when you drive tractor, trailer trucks over it all the time, it becomes inconvenience.
Well,
I'm not gonna argue the point because I have.
yeah, but this site, I think it's kind of unique. They don't have that much tractor. I mean, I think if this was a real industrial site, you could deliveries all day long, I would have to agree with that.
But, I mean, the gravel will be compacted to be able to handle the loads.
Yeah.
So that's what the detention pond is sized for.
So, if we're going with that line of thinking, what about 50-year, 100-year storm events? It's done.
It was sized for both.
It was size for
And that was
And
my
it was
question,
used-
because that's something DES had brought up, 50 years instead of 100.
Right, and I gave her that information also. I told her that it was in the stormwater report that I submitted, and plus the Conservation Commission one is sized for the 100-year also. And just so you know, it's also designed using the extreme rainfall, not the old NRCS numbers too. So those are larger also.
Good.
very thorough.
I was looking for a maintenance schedule for.
There should be
It's a separate.
a separate form so that you can use it. That's exactly the same thing that I submit to AOT, when I do AOT permit.
There is no language in here, and the Conservation Commission brought it up, although I don't think they brought it up as it pertains to this. Yep. Invasive species.
I believe.
The maintenance of invasive species as it pertains to this in particular. What is it, purple loosestrife is the choking one?
Is that choking one?
That fills in, the
Oh,
one that's
right.
filling in the detention pond at the corner of Grant and Route 3 from Conover's development.
Oh, I thought, there's a lot of Japanese knotweed there too, in that
Right,
area,
that
right?
doesn't usually grow right in the wetlands, the purple
Oh, no.
loosestrife does, so.
Oh, okay. Right, that's true.
I can add that
Can you
in.
add something in here that would be
Yep. Absolutely.
monitored and they would be removed?
Yep. If you want to do a condition on that, I'll throw that into.
How often?
Usually it's done yearly.
Could you add that to this, that it be done annually or yearly, and that the report will be sent to the land use department? or something?
Sure.
Where's the seeding taking place? This is all gravel, is that?
The detention ponds and the ditch lines. And, you know, around the edges where it's disturbed and green. Basically, you know, like, kind of easy to see, really light green.
So that's gonna be a one-time to get it growing, because using fertilizer in those detention ponds is prohibited use. So you're gonna, just to get it going
Just to get it
before
going.
becomes the detention pond?
Right.
Excuse me. Oh, yeah, hold on. Hold on.
So
Yeah, what you say?
you're not gonna be seeding this until April 15th?
Yes,
Because
yes, we are.
didn't I see the construction plans probably be completed sometime in December?
Okay, I mean, we have to,
Possibly, I mean,
We have to
you know,
leave
I don't know what the building schedule
This
is.
is between April 15th and October
Okay.
1st.
All right.
My next question is what
All right,
we're
thanks.
going to
Have a good night.
stabilize the slopes until spring.
The stabilization for that,
There's most to pay, but.
I can't read the little ones. Basically, they'd have to be considered stable, so basically, you're at the base course of gravels, minimum of 85% vegetated. Or erosion control blankets on the slopes. And then, let's see.
Table.
Yeah, hay mulch.
Anchored.
Yeah.
That's if it's seeded, they're gonna use hay for most of the seeded areas.
Well, they could seed it this if they used, if they waited until the ground was frozen and then did the old farmer's trick. So-
Yeah.
That's not gonna be rude though, it's not gonna be.
No, but
seeded.
that's the net, that's what the erosion control netting is on there for.
Yeah.
Yeah, that, I've seen that in the springtime. Snow thaw and spring runoff and. I mean, the idea is to keep
So what would you like to see then?
some kind of type of erosion control blanket on that for the winter, until it's seeded in the spring.
How high is it?
It does say that in here. 7B. All ditches and soils
Would
which,
you have to say 7B?
yeah.
7B under erosion control notes.
All ditches and soils which do not exhibit a minimum of 85% vegetative growth by October 15th, or which are disturbed after October 15th, shall be stabilized temporarily, I think this is with stone, or erosion control blankets appropriate for the design flow conditions, and C, after November 15th, incomplete. Oh, that's-
Roads and park
Perfect,
limits.
thank you.
Yeah.
So it's covered.
It's really tiny print.
That's why I had to bring up this one. so you couldn't-
It's under erosion control.
Well, I failed the
Yeah, I
test
see
on
it
that
here.
today because it was really tiny print and I missed it. I got my doping cheater. I had to go like that.
And it's covered from the market fencing. Maintenance plan for farm, I got that, I can be covered everything.
Excuse me?
Sounds like a motion.
I'm sorry, talking to myself.
Yeah,
Usually I do my studying earlier in the day, so I'm ready. Conservation Commission seems to be reading up there. Basic fencing or signs, boulders are there.
right.
On their part.
They've got a maintenance plan.
That sounds like a motion.
Do we have any conditions?
Well, we have
Yes,
the
the
least of-
invasive species to be added in, and they done annually on the report and sent to land use.
Okay, motion to approve with those.
Could I suggest adding just your standard, all necessary federal, local, state permits required? And then, this doesn't need to be a condition, but the final plan will need a signature block, so we can get the signatures on
We had to have them make sure the private roads built to town standards.
it. She said they're going to, so yeah, we'd need, if they weren't going to, we need something. I mean, you could add a condition on
If
that.
it isn't built to town standards, it becomes a driveway.
And then it's a driveway serving 3 properties, which we don't allow, so they kind of have to do it.
So it's paved then, right? Is it paved or no?
Gravel.
I think it
Gravel.
can be gravel.
Okay.
Is it gravel?
The apron off of the road is paved. We can extend it a little.
I think that actually, if the board is going to allow, if we're going to call that a private road and you want to do it with gravel, they need to waive the requirement that the entirety of the private road be paved. So that should be done.
Say that again?
I think if we're saying that
You're saying all private roads in town have to be paved?
according to our subdivision regulations. Now, you guys, like with the Dembitsky case, for example, you guys waived
Right.
the requirement that it be paved. I think you've done it one other time. I mean, certainly, that seems like a reasonable waiver to me. So, I think, as a matter of housekeeping, might make sense to
Yep.
move
Yeah.
to waive
Yeah.
the pavement requirement, yeah.
Might as well.
Put that as a motion to.
So should we hold off on that, or where are you, yeah, sorry.
Well, should we make a motion that we would,
Well, we have a motion in process
Got a
right
motion on the
now,
floor.
The
Oh.
so we
condition,
have to wait.
We could table, yeah, if you want to table that motion and wait, yeah,
right.
okay.
that's your clue, Kathy. Kathy,
What?
you have to waive the motion.
I wait my motion.
No,
No,
table
no.
it.
Table it.
Table it.
Table my motion.
Table.
Whatever you want to do, it's fine with me.
Okay, hold on to your thought. Now, do we have a motion to waive the requirement for private road to be paved?
So moved.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? So be it. Back to you, Catherine.
So,
So approve the subdivision, excuse me, site plan, putting in the invasive species portion.
Mr. Chairman, just point of order, probably want to accept the application as complete first.
Oh,
I thought-
yeah, thank you.
I'm sorry, I thought we did that at the
Yeah,
last one.
This is a new
Thank you,
one,
ma'am.
that's right.
Appreciate it.
This is a new one, this is the site
I
plan.
thought we'd done
I
that.
just thought of that.
Thank you.
I thought we'd done
I
that.
looked at it and I was like,
You
ah,
Yeah,
accepted the
she's right.
subdivision.
right.
No, before I thought.
We talked about, no, yeah.
No, we did it long
So
ago.
do we
No,
feel
this is
that
a new
the,
site plan.
First, you've seen the site plan.
so do we feel the site plan is, application is substantially complete?
yes,
And then we accept it?
yes.
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So be it. Thank you.
You don't want-
Yeah, we don't want to trip up later.
I thought that.
Now, you're back on track, Miss Dawson.
So,
Motion to accept the site plan as with the
that's my,
conditions we
With
stated
the three
earlier.
Yes,
conditions.
right. Here, I'll quickly go through them. So it was add an invasive species management, invasive plant species management clause or element to the stormwater management maintenance report, and submit those reports to the land use office, submit the maintenance reports to the land use office. All necessary local, state, federal permits shall be required.
And that they be done annually.
Annually.
Okay, for the,
Please.
all right.
Invasive species removal maintenance.
Bless you.
Okay, invasives, management, annually, submit, stormwater, maintenance reports.
No, best management practice.
What's that?
Best management practices.
It's the,
Oh, the BM,
it's the inspection and maintenance reports.
submit those to the land use office. And get all your necessary state, federal, and local permits.
All right. Did we have a second on that?
Second.
Any more discussion on it? All those in favor?
Aye.
Right?
Any opposed? So be it. 2 years later.
yeah, I know.
It's nice to have something happening on the property.
No.
All right, do we have any correspondence this evening, Gary?
Well, I know that you guys have put in a lot of very long meetings, and folks probably, you guys are very deserving of a short meeting tonight. I have this giant folder, but it's actually pretty quick stuff.
Good.
So I'll go through it just quickly, and maybe if you guys want to take a look, you can. Otherwise, you're welcome to stop by the office anytime. There's a request for project review by the New Hampshire Division of Historical Resources for the U-Haul property. They do want to expand onto that, what I call the Sterner property.
That's that property to the left.
Yes,
That's that
right.
one.
Yeah, so you guys.
Yeah, to the left of that, someone came, there's a
Oh,
house
where,
close to it.
What's his
Yeah,
name?
he got approval to do like a 2 or 3 unit shopping center, but he never got the
where
septic
Kathy
figured out.
Powers used to live.
Maybe,
Yeah.
I don't know.
With the
There's-
Doberman.
I got a copy of a state permit to operate for Tilton School. It has something to do with air control and boilers and things like that.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Request for project review by Historical Resources for 199 East Main Street. I just saw this today. I'm not particularly familiar with
They're
it.
gonna,
All right, there's that one. Yeah, this is something I do want to,
Where's 199 East Main,
I don't know.
Catherine?
199 East Main.
Maybe about
Googling.
Please.
So,
Not that far
we
out.
got wetlands permits, 3 of them. We got Bitter Lane, we've got Bittersweet Lane, and we've got these guys who were just in. And then we've got another request for project review for New Hampshire Division of Historic Resources, which is Bittersweet Lane, so it's probably relating to that. Wetland permit, and then another request for review. Maybe this is left over from before. This is a June 28th, so this might be a little for Highland Ridge. So it's all current cases. You probably know much more about these cases anyway than you really get from actually looking at this stuff. So anyway, let me know if you want to look at it. It's here. You're welcome to come in anytime. Again, I don't want to hold you guys up. You've put in a lot of hours recently.
Where did you find it, Eric? Did you find it?
Google Maps.
Yeah, did you find it?
Yep. It's the house next to Ken Norton's up in the hill.
Every tractor.
That White House.
I think it's in
The one
here.
that got floated.
Yeah, it's in here, yeah.
Can you determine whether or not the culvert they want to expand is on their property or on Bitter Lane?
Can I do it? You want me to do it right now?
No.
Okay, yes, I will. I'll take a look at it and try.
Thank you, because that's the big question.
All right.
If it's on their property, have at it.
so-
If it's on ours, they'll have to get permission from the selectmen.
Okay. All right, yeah, I'll look at that. Then lastly, I went to the LRPC meeting in Holderness last night, and developments of regional impact were discussed. I thought it was pretty interesting. I think you guys understand it. You know, when you voted to declare the Hunter Autumn Drive as a development of regional impact, and I think, you know, we looked at what was required by statute. You guys probably didn't have to do that.
I was gonna say, I didn't agree with that.
Well, but I think
Yeah.
generally it's considered, just like notifying that extra person who's kind of in a butter, or not quite in a butter, but is pretty close to a butter. I think the attitude on this is the same thing. Just go ahead and do it if it's in doubt. In fact, the statute does say, if you're right on the fence, you should declare it a development of regional impact. So Susan Slack, who's relatively new to Lake Region Planning Commission, she's very good. She used to
Thank
be
you.
with Office of Energy and Planning, and she's an attorney, and yeah, she's excellent. So very good to have her in the region. She created this guidelines, and take a look at it if you wish. You might want to just include it with your planning board materials.
Yeah.
I think maybe the thing that we really need to remember, though, there's a couple interesting points. One is that ZBA also should be making determinations of whether cases might be a regional impact. I hadn't thought of that. And then one I definitely never thought of is that Al should be. He should potentially be, like if somebody came in with a building permit because they wanted to build like a new, you know, something gigantic that would impact the region that for whatever reason wouldn't need site plan review. So I can't imagine what that would be. But anyway, he should halt the process and consider a development of regional impact and notify abutting towns and notify Lakes Region Planning Commission. Probably never happened, but I never even thought of it as a possibility.
It's being a good neighbor.
Yeah, and what's the other thing? I guess, yeah, other than that, just, you know, maybe keep it in. Oh, the other thing is we really need to remember that it should be part of our process. I think in general it's so obvious that it's not, that it's fine that we skip the vote, but it probably would be appropriate to, at the beginning upon accepting every single application, quickly go over, you know, is this a development of regional impact? And maybe just quickly say no and get it out of the way. But there was a case where I think it was, you were saying Warner, there was the entire case got tossed out. They had to go back to square one because they never even asked the question of whether it was.
Should that be on our application?
Well, not our application, but it's kind of in I went and looked just this afternoon at our rules of procedure. It's jammed in there, almost like
An afterthought?
it's not like clearly part of the steps, so maybe we want to look at doing that. But I think we've been good. I mean, the one time we had one that was, we recognized it, we called it right out. So as long as we're doing that, we're probably safe, but bring it into our procedure. So we should all be cognizant of that. Yeah, that's it.
I hope Belmont was there. Well, I
I
got,
don't think Belmont was there.
well, remember the situation with the aquifer and the,
Yeah,
Racetrack and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Master plan.
They two of them.
yeah,
We had
definitely.
it on hold, we'll be back to it.
All right, so
In
nothing.
fact, they just notified us on with the whole mining
Right.
pit thing.
Oh.
Which maybe, that's a good sign, you know.
Is it appropriate to bring up now about like the fees associated with permit fees with renovations of businesses, business buildings?
I don't,
Is
well,
that-
I
Can I
mean,
do that?
if I could, I don't think it's necessary to discuss tonight, but,
I'm just curious.
so I've submitted a revised permit fee schedule to the Board of Selectmen, with significant reductions in fees that would be experienced for maintenance type work. So
Great.
we'll see, they're gonna take a look at it and potentially, take it back up this week. I'm not sure when they're gonna take it back up, but they have something in front of them. If you'd like to take a look at that, let me know and I
I
can
do,
share it with you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got some information on it. I mean, I don't know that much about how it's structured, but I thought somebody said it was about you can only charge administrative, recoup what you put into it administrative, like an administrative fee, and that was it. Like you sent a guy out and cost you so much an hour.
That's not the same for building permit fee. But that's what we charge for copies, people coming in.
Right.
But I think
But
it depends on. I mean, you can't just charge what you feel like, right?
building permit fees?
Like for for building permits, yeah. Any.
There's no statute for that, is it?
I mean,
I think
I'm
there
definitely
is best
familiar
practices,
with
though.
That's different
what
than
Ms.
statute.
Harvey's saying right now. Definitely rings a bell in terms of like what you charge for site plan review applications and abutter notifications and all that. I've definitely heard that you should charge no more than what it costs you. I haven't heard that with building permit fees. However, I think we can very safely say we are not recovering our costs. And that we definitely won't be if this is approved.
Okay.
So,
it's just-
in
I'm
other words, we're
curious.
in no
Yeah.
danger of
Yeah.
overcharging. We probably never have been.
Right.
Maybe on a case-by-case basis, you might get that.
Yeah, maybe
you know,
it is.
but
I'm just thinking of some that I'm not going to bring up right now, but that people brought to my attention, but that I'm curious about, but I don't know all the details. But I do know number of amounts.
You can't, there's no
dollar amounts
perfect,
that seem.
there's no perfect fee schedule that would absolutely eliminate the possibility that anyone ever gets, slightly charged, a few cents more than what it costs to administer the permit. However, I think maybe ours is foolproof because I think it's so much lower than what it costs. I mean, when you're talking paying the salary of a code enforcement officer.
I don't even know what all the fees, if they vary from each, if different permit types have different fees. I don't even know. I've just heard of like concrete pad going in, $1,100 for the fee. It's like, okay, that's rocks on dirt. I don't know if that's true or not, but yeah. So I'm just
Okay.
curious about it.
If you look at
That's all.
the building permit fees, communities all over the state, it's amazing how they vary. There's one community, I think it's Washington, $50, doesn't matter what you do, $50, $50. But our fees, even before Darius suggested changes, were pretty standard as far as Northfield's, Belmont's, and the neighboring
Yeah.
communities. But it is interesting, the range.
Yeah, and what exactly is the regulation on that? There must be
I think
some
of them
regulation.
are- We don't charge for swimming pools, but even above ground swimming pools is a fee for some of them, it's a permit fee.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a whole nother area
It's
of,
interesting.
yeah.
I had to pay a permit fee to tear something down.
Yeah, right.
Yes, there
Yeah.
is.
I just put siding windows in my house, I had to pay $100 and something bucks.
Yeah.
Put windows?
Siding,
Side?
and a small deck.
Hurts.
That's where I got most of the hit was on the deck. I think the renovation was like $50 and then the deck was like 65.
government do take back.
I didn't think it was an inconvenience, it was, this way it's, my feeling is, it alerts the town that something's going on and the assessor comes out,
Yep.
I'll be paying for the tax.
Well, that's
I mean,
another
property tax,
debate
sorry.
right there, because the assessor should realize it during the assessment. Pay the assessor for it.
Well, they don't know it unless you got a permit. I mean, why, how would they know it?
How about they go out and examine the property, don't they?
Hmm?
No, look
Yeah,
at it.
but they wouldn't know whether the deck was
Eventually.
new or, you know, they don't,
That's what they call pickups. It used to be you filled out your inventory every year. Remember the head bump? You pay the tax on
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
things.
Oh,
Who's living in your
no.
house?
Yeah.
What have you done on your property this year?
Nothing.
All right, is there any other business?
make a motion to adjourn.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Dara, you lied, you said 15 minutes.
That's not bad, though. Look at that.
An hour,
How long
yeah.
did it take you
Not
to
even
print
quite
this
an hour.
thing?
Yeah, right. That's pretty good.
Those that you predicted, an hour.
Yeah.
Throwing it out. You want it?
That was my real prediction.
No, it's start fire.
Is that seasoned?
But that was nice, kind of basic,
Yeah.
things we picked up on.
Right. Yeah, it's too short. I feel like.
I was surprised at how much information there was. I would have done it earlier.
Yeah. Camera off?
Thanks. Did you turn
Camera
off
off? Oh, no, thanks.
But it just shows preparation.